So when I left you last time, I'd added the light blue to the undersides. As you can see, since then the undersides have been completed. There has been some weathering done, although it's not very visible in this video, I wouldn't think. I've also freehand airbrushed the camouflages on the top side. The light blue is the same blue as the underside, and the grey is actually 36375, which is the light ghost grey for US Air Force schemes. And the lighter blue is a mixture of Mr. Colour H72 intermediate blue with probably about 50 to 60% white added, and then all the colours have been further weathered in with light and dark mixes of the base colour. It's really just the first step in the camouflaging. There's lots of weathering and stuff to be done yet. As you can see, the fins and stuff are still separate. So I hope you can see that airbrushing well. Now the next stage I want to do on this model will be to add a coat of gloss varnish to it, for which I'm going to use Gear's EX03, which is their gloss clear. And get a good gloss on this before I start to add a wash and then look at applying the decals. I want to get the decals on really quite early in this build because there's a lot of weathering and stuff that I want to do as the build progresses, and really the best way to do that is with the decals already in place. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do is, as before, numerous of my videos cover me gloss coating and stuff, so I'm not actually going to show that. In this instance, it's just a quick update on where we are. So the next time you see this model, I'll hopefully have it glossed, and we'll be ready to start washing it and adding the decals and stuff, so that we can then get a coat of varnish on it, and then we can really hit about the weathering using some techniques like pastels and hopefully oil paints and stuff like that to get the effects we're after. Okay, with the basic painting done and the model, as you can see, has been glossed. What I want to do is start the weathering. Now this is going to be an aircraft from the very early 90s, and a lot of the aircraft around that time, a lot of the flankers particularly, were very, very messy, mucky, oily, and very weathered. So I want to try and represent that. So the first step of that is I'm going to apply a wash to the model, and as I said, I want it to look fairly grimy and dirty. So what I'm going to use is a mixture of Abtolong oils. In this instance, I'm going to have a look first by mixing some of their 080 wash brown with some of the 100 faded grey, and then I'm going to thin that back and see if it gets me the kind of grimy appearance that I'm looking for. So I've got some normal thinners here. Now this has been decanted into an old Tamiya thinners thing, but just so you know what I'm using, it's just this here, which is just White Spirit from Homebase, which does the job adequately. So I'm just adding some White Spirit, and then I'm going to mix this together and see if you can see that, that's given me quite a almost a dark earth sort of colour, which isn't quite what I was looking for. I want something greyer than that, so I'm going to lose a fair bit of that mixture. Okay, and I'm going to add another good dollop of the faded grey to that mixture. Thin it back some more. and that's given me a slightly browned out sort of medium grey colour. Not a million miles from what I want actually, so I'm just going to thin it back some more. I still want the colour to be, the wash to be darker than the colours it's going over, but not by much. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to test a bit. Okay, and then with that I'm just going to wipe it off immediately. To kind of see what we're left with. Now, as I said, this is the very first stage of the weathering, so whilst it might look horrible and brown, it's worth remembering barely any of this is going to remain on the model, and that which does remain, the majority of it will be covered over with further weathering stages in due course. So I'm going to use that colour as it is. My normal weathering technique with oils over lacquers, which is just to give the model, you know, a good slathering over with the oil wash. It'll dry in a very few minutes, and then we can start looking at removing the excess. Just add a couple of more drops of thinners to my oil mix. And then apply it. One thing I am being quite careful of is that I've still got the masking in place around the natural metal areas. What I don't want to happen is for the wash to seep under those areas, so I'm being quite... The reason for a gloss coat before applying this wash is that I do want it really to remain just in the panel lines. I don't really want the brown to tint the overall paintwork if I can help it. And so doing it over a gloss surface means that you will get off nearly all of the wash from areas you don't want it without any real problems. Again, for consistency, I'm just going over all the areas which will be visible on the finished model, just to ensure that we maintain a consistent look over the model. I'm just going to add a little bit of wash to the wheels as well. And that's that done. So what's going to happen is we're going to leave that for a short while to dry, and then we'll be back to remove the excess wash. Okay, so here we are back about an hour after I applied the wash. It's now dried off and we're ready to start removing the excess. As usual, as you'll have seen in some of my previous videos, it's just done using kitchen towel and rubbing it over the surfaces to remove. Hopefully you can see the excess there being removed. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you in a bit closer because I don't have one of the remote controls. Okay, so then I'll show you with the other of the tail. So hopefully you can see how easily that's coming off because of the gloss surface. In fact, just holding it with my fingers is removing some of it. So there you go, and that's how easy it is. So all I'm going to do is work my way over the whole model. And then complete going over the rest of the model. And now we're ready to deal with the main airframe. And that's the model now, completely glossed over and washed. Next up will be the decals. One thing I'm just going to do is that I had masked off the infrared search and track window on the front of the canopy, and in doing what I've just done, I've removed some of the mask. So I'm just going to touch that back in with some masking fluid. Okay, and that then just means that we're ready to move on to the decaling stage, which is going to be the next stage. So I'll join you later when we're ready to start the decaling. Okay, so we're back and we're ready to start applying decals to this flanker model now. As previously discussed, I'm going to be using a set of decals from a Russian company called Bergamot for this model to do one of the alternative schemes on that sheet. I've had quite a mixed experience with Bergamot in the past. They do some really nice subjects, especially for Russian and Soviet era aircraft. Some issues are that the decals can tend to, generally very well printed, but they can tend to yellow over time. And one of the problems I had with this sheet was that some of the decals on the sheet I got were horribly out of register. And I'm not talking a little bit either. There's some roundels here that are horrendously out of register, completely unusable. However, to Bergamot's credit, I did email them to point out the problem to them. Sent them pictures of the problem decals. And I have to say, within a week I'd received in the post a completely new replacement decal sheet from them, which is actually printed in perfect register. The downside is there's a tiny little bit of yellowing on this. I don't know how much of that would show up on a scheme such as this. Fortunately, the decals I want to use are in register on the original sheet, which has no yellowing at all. So I'm going to be using them. And also I will be using some of the stencil data and the like from the original trumpeter sheet. So a couple of things. I use just a little cup of warm water for my decals. One thing I've got here in this little pot, you can see here, it's just some water mixed with some washing up liquid, dish soap if you're in America. And I use this to wet the surface of the model before I apply the decal. What that does is it provides a very well wetted surface, which is also slightly lubricated by the washing up liquid, and means that the decals will slide on the model very easily. I'll be using a decal softener after I've applied the decals and got them in position. Now the thing I liked about these this particular flanker was that there's some very large fin markings which I wanted to use, and so I'm looking to see which fin markings I need, and it's showing that I need marking 102, so I'm just going to cut this out. It's the shape of it's the Russian flag with a large shield in the middle, a very attractive marking indeed, and one that I really wanted to use. So hope you can see that. So all I'm going to do is, because this is a very large marking, what I generally tend to do is use a sharp point, the point of a knife, a needle, anything like that. I'm just going to poke some very light holes all over this decal before I soak it, and all that does is just means that there's holes for liquids to escape from, air bubbles to escape from, and things like that. So with that done, I'm just going to place the decal in the warm water. Place it off to one side, then I'm going to wet the fin where this decal is to be located. That's already moving on. That's, as you can see, that's probably 10 or 15 seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to slide this marking off onto the fin. Just check where it's actually located on the fin. Okay, it actually covers up a portion of it. Actually goes to the bottom. Actually goes past the yeah, it goes past the fin line, past the bottom of the rudder. I'm just going to locate it to show that because the fin is at an angle when it's located on the aircraft. The marking itself is hope you can see that once the it's on there and located against the correct panel, more or less, and at this right height. Although it slopes on the fin, it's actually in a level attitude once the fin is located on the model itself. So with that in place, all I'm going to do is use a piece of kitchen towel to dab the decal. And that's that now in place. What I'm going to do is I'll apply a few decals to the model and then go around and add the a decal softening solution. So I'm looking for, there's a marking, the bort number. There's actually quite a few markings on the fin tip here. So marking number 81, which is the fin tip bort number. which is in dark blue here. Again, there's a large area of clear film on this, so I'm just going to poke it with a sharp knife a few times just to put some holes in it. Place it to one side again, and then I'm going to wet the area with the washing up liquid mixture I've got here. As you can see, these decals come loose in a very few seconds, so we're already at the stage where I can slide that off the backing. And then locate it. Okay, and then there's a red star to go on this fin, which is apparently marking 62, which is here. So that shows as being quite high up there. And the final marking, 54, is the Sukhoi Design Bureau badge. For this fin, quite a variety of these badges on the sheet. And that's in place. And I hope you can see that. That's the initial markings on the tail fin there in place. So they've been patted down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for one of my decal softeners. In this case I'm going to use Solvaset. It's quite a strong solvent, but I know from previous experience that Begamot's decals can be a little bit resistant to softening solutions, so I'm going to use one of the stronger ones I have and just brush over all the decals here. Now remember, I've poked holes in these decals for most of the decals, so the setting solution is also going to find its way underneath underneath the decal as well to work from there. So anyway, that's the decal application. As I say, I'm using the washing up liquid and Solvaset, and that's basically all there is to it. So what I'm going to do is I'll carry on applying these markings, and again I'll see you at the end when we're ready for the next stage. All the markings are in place.